Hello everyone, my name is Kira and today I will be talking about the 6.1 banners and their pull values. I will discuss the characters, their kits, their pull value and briefly talk about vertical investment at the end, so watch out for that. The banners are a debut for Nefer and the reruns of Furina, Zhongli, Arlecchino without any known order so far. I will be assuming Nefer and Furina for the first half for the sake of this video and the others in the second half. But it shouldn't change my rankings at the end too much. So without much yapping, let's go right ahead, shall we? Starting off with the debutante Nefair. She has a slightly complicated kit, but I will make it simple. For a more in-depth explanation, please check out my previous video. Her kit in short is about the lunar bloom reaction, which when you use it you get something called Verdant Dew. This Verdant Dew is then used to buff up Nefair's skill and makes it stronger. She has a unique passive that literally disables blooms. Yes, you heard that right. And instead consume them to buffer elemental burst nuke, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's a bit more details in that, but again refer to my last video for that, after watching this video of course. As for her pull value, she is a DPS, so her value is inherently lower, on top of heavily relying on Llama for her damage, something that I forgot to mention in my last video because it's just a common problem now. But thankfully she makes up for this by being one of the best characters in the game, shooting some insanely high numbers even without Llama. Overall, I personally wouldn't recommend her without Llama, and especially if you already have a Nilu who has anti-synergy with her because she disables the bloom. But if you do like her in a playstyle, which from the leaks looks very fun, she won't be a waste of pulls. Starting from here, we don't know the order of the characters, but assuming Furina will be rerunning here, she is a Hydro sub DPS focused on buffing your team while doing a lot of damage on her own. She's already on her 4th banner, so I don't think I need to explain Furina's kit all too much. All you need to know is that she does a lot of big damage off field, applies a bit of Hydro and buffs your team if there's a healer in it. Furina is amazing and has always been part of the meta for the past 2 years. For a newer player, a character that buffs the majority of the cast that way is very good and a very important asset for their account. But there is a second side to this coin, of course. The problem with general supports is that more recently we've been getting more specialized supports meant for 1 or 2 specific DPS. This does mean that ever since her last rerun in 5.4, we have gotten a couple of characters that can't particularly use her all that well. She's still good, don't get me wrong, but I would not blindly recommend her the way I did back in the day. And you have to make your decision based on if your DPS can truly slot her in. And since we're early into an outcry, we don't really know how the rest of the cast uses her yet. So overall, she's probably the best character of this patch, and I will be putting a lot of emphasis on her vertical investment later in the video. So keep watching till the end to find out. Before moving on with the video, I'd like to remind you guys that not many people watching are subscribed. I'm a small content creator and appreciate any support. So I would love it if you consider clicking those buttons down below. And back with the video. Moving on to probably the hardest character to judge, Arlecchino. She is a Pyro Polearm DPS who is focused on very powerful normal attacks. What makes her so hard to judge? Simply Alice Enduring. We of course don't have official confirmation or leaks on it, but in the trailer they have been both seen with a Pyro Vision. And seeing recent trends, they'll most likely be DPS and support meant for each other, making some very strong teams together. Truth is, Arlecchino already got power clipped by Mavika, one more Pyro DPS stronger than her, and that does mean she technically can't be considered meta, hence I cannot recommend her. And as much as I hate to say it, she is basically a very low value pull without a lot of future proof value despite how strong she is, and despite the fact that she can clear endgame still. So overall, she's probably not an investment to keep an eye out for. Sorry Arlie mains, I will make up for it in the vertical investment section though. And now we have the easiest one to judge, Zhongli. Yeah, I'm not gonna say too much, he's not all that good. All he does is shield, big shield, newer supports do way more than that. They sustain, do insane buffs, and on top of sometimes doing good personal damage. I'm not gonna waste too much of your time on this one. Sorry, not sorry, he just can't keep up with the new units at all. And as much as I hate to say that about my GOAT, it is the truth. He only has the merit of comfort, but again, the other units can have support and sustain, making them insanely better. Before ending the video, of course I will talk about vertical investment. It's a separate section because these videos are meant to be C0 R0 rankings, and hence adding constellations would go against that. So think of this as an extra segment. Nefer has a good C1, but that's not too impactful, and it's not that bad either. Buffs her skill damage by some amount. Her C2 is insane though, and it buffs all parts of her kit. It increases the buffs to her burst by adding more stacks from the blooms, buffs skill damage on top of giving 200 EM. Overall, they're really good, but they're not particularly game changing, and she doesn't need them to be all that good. Furina's C1 is pretty good, add some fanfare stacks and lessen the requirement needed to max it out. Her C2 is a game changer and is one of the best in the game. Buffs her damage by a massive amount on top of making it easier to stack fanfare without needing a team-wide healer, which is very important in the recent meta. Easily the best vertical investment in this patch, and I would recommend that either that or skipping the patch altogether. Arlecchino has a good C1 and C2. Her C1 adds some quality of life by increasing her interruption resistance and her skill state, which is quite helpful. Her C2 adds more damage on top of reducing resistances and making it easier to set up her rotations. They're good and do help her value, but as usual with DPS investment, it's only really worth it if you like the character and want to use them long term. Zhongli has a bad C1 and C2. Again, I'm just not gonna waste your time. They do nothing. They don't add damage, buff his shield, or add anything of note that increases value. I'm not even going to bother explaining what they do. In conclusion, pull Furina. Just pull Furina. In all seriousness, all the characters here besides Zhongli are decent enough that you can pull them at any moment and it's okay. But Furina's just the best here and the longest lasting. And I'd even dare say her vertical investment is better than the others, especially if you're particular about buffing older units, in which she's generally the best buff for them. Otherwise, get Furina if you don't already have her, with Nefer being in second in my eyes, and Arlecchino being third in value, and last and definitely least being Zhongli. With all of that out of the way, what have you decided? Will you be pulling on anyone, or is the lineup not that convincing? Let me know down below. If this video is entertaining or informative, please like and subscribe. I'm a small content creator and appreciate any support. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and bye!